Good evening. It's 7 o'clock. Plan Commission, City of Marshfield, Tuesday, June 17th. Call to order. Roll call.
Mayor Teestrake.
Here.
Councilmember O'Reilly.
Here.
Commissioner Bernardi.
Here.
Commissioner Frederick.
Here.
The other three members are not here, but we do have a quorum.
And we are pulling items number 8 and number 9 because we need to have the full commission here to discuss these items. We'll go on to item number 3, approval of agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and second and made. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item number 4, approval of minutes, May 20th, 2025 meeting.
Move to approve. I'll second.
The motion's been made and second. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, identify possible conflicts of interest. Boy, that's a hard word. Please be advised per City Policy 3.340 that any member of the body shall declare a conflict if they have an interest, financial or otherwise direct or indirect, or engage in a business or transaction or professional activity or incur an obligation of any nature. This in conflict with proper discharge of the body's official duties. Are there any items for conflict of interest? Seeing none, move on to item 6, citizens' comments. Citizens' comments. A third time, citizen comments. See no citizen comments, move on to item number 7, conditional use permit request by Everett Mueller for exception to section 18.658 residential accessory structures of the zoning code to exceed the number of residential accessory structures permitted to allow for the construction of a personal greenhouse for the properties located at 202 and 204 West Kelshed Street, parcels 33-03-8038 and 33-03807. This request also includes an exception to section 18-106 fencing standards to exceed fence height requirements. Presenter, Bress Hembrook, planner.
Thank you, Mayor, and sorry for making you read that that very long description, but yeah, so the applicant is proposing to add a personal greenhouse on the western property here at 204 West Kelshed. So as you can kind of see, there was a house, a single-family residential on that property, and I could be mistaken, but I believe it was a mobile home that was on the property before. He purchased the 202 and then he purchased 204, I think within the last few years, and removed the single family and was looking to kind of spruce up the two properties. So currently they're two separate lots. I think the applicant is intending to keep those as two separate lots. And so I'll kind of go over how that might affect the approval here later. But just for general directions, this is the Perkins on Central Avenue, Pizza Ranch, the coffee cabin. So just to give you a general sense as to where we're at. The applicant is looking to do a personal greenhouse that would be approximately 192 square feet, under 10 feet tall, and it would be located on a concrete slab and connected to electrical services. So it would be located on the west property here, and it would have to meet front setbacks and basically be aligned with the main residence, and that can be, verified by the zoning administrator. But there would also be some garden beds that would be planted around the greenhouse, and a walking path. And so the reason why we're here for this request is because typically a property is allowed 2 detached accessory structures in association with a principal use. So the house would be considered the principal use. And then there are one garage, one shed on the house, on the property with the house. And then there is an existing garage on the adjacent parcel. And so because they're looking to have over the two, we have to go through this process to get approval through a conditional use permit if the Planning Commission and Common Council wish to grant that. So that's the main reason why we're here. And then he is also looking to have up to an 8-foot fence around the property. And so one thing to note is I kind of mentioned the Perkins property. So in our code, the code talks about anytime a residential property is next to or adjacent to a commercial, a non-residential district, they're allowed up to 8 feet. So technically, he would be allowed up to 8 feet along the east property line and then a portion of the southern property line. He wants to just have a consistent fence going along the whole, rear and side of the property, just to keep it consistent in materials and look and aesthetics. So that's the request for the 8-foot fence. He doesn't know for sure what materials he would use. However, he's assuming that he's going to construct a solid cedar fence. So if the Plan Commission has a preference, they could require a certain type of material. But the way that I looked at this, it basically, if it's permitted in the fence code regulations, he would be allowed to do that. He just needs the exception for the 8-foot. So I kind of went over, why we're looking or why the applicant is looking to get this exception. In terms of, why we have these regulations in place, one of the things that we want to limit is just an overabundance of accessory structures on a property to where, we don't want, just for an extreme number, 10 sheds all in the backyard. That takes up, a lot of space, and it also would limit what he can do with the size of the house. And so that's kind of the general reason for a number requirement of how many accessory structures can be on there. Now, in this case, there would be 2 on each property. So that's one thing to consider. But also, he would be allowed up to 1,200 square feet of accessory space because of the size of his house. And he would actually be under that with all 4 structures. So that's one of the things that we kind of looked at to determine whether or not this is appropriate. And so he didn't need an exception for that. So just to kind of show you here, here's what the personal greenhouse would, roughly look like. And as I mentioned, he would kind of have garden beds besides it. And so just from a site plan perspective, as I mentioned, there was a house here, garage and shed house. And so the overall makeup of the lots will appear somewhat similar, because the greenhouse is going roughly in a similar location as the house. Obviously, it's rotated. But, from the common observer walking by, it won't be all that noticeable that there's, much of a change in my opinion. So that was just one thing I wanted to note. And then overall, I didn't really see any major concerns with this. I think, especially with the fence, it makes sense to just have a consistent height that would run all the way along because they are next to non-residential. And then in terms of the greenhouse, I think the key factor is that they're under the typical square footage allowance. And so this seems like an appropriate request. But with that, the staff recommendation was, it's up to the discretion of the Plan Commission. If the Plan Commission decides to recommend approval, the commission should consider the following conditions/exceptions. And some of these are kind of standard. You guys have seen these through past Plan Commission conditional use permits. But number 1, the subject property shall either be combined through a certified survey map or the applicant shall record a deed restriction with Wood County following the procedure in accordance with the zoning code. Either action shall occur prior to the approval of the building permit or fence permit. Speaking with the applicant, he's currently going through that process now to combine or to do a deed restriction through Wood County. So that is the route that he's planning to go. So he is planning on keeping those as 2 separate lots, which is something that he's allowed to do according to our code. Number 2, the conditional use permit allows the construction of a 4th accessory structure to be used as a personal greenhouse. Number 3, the applicant is permitted to construct a fence no taller than 8 feet as presented on the site plan. Number 4, the applicant is responsible for ensuring the fence is located entirely on the subject parcel and does not encroach into the public right-of-way or adjacent properties. Number 5, minor site plan changes may be administratively approved as long as the changes do not result in the development becoming non-compliant with the CUP and or other code requirements. I believe that the applicant is not in attendance because he is out of town. However, there was a narrative that was provided in the packet, I believe. So if there's any questions, I can try to answer that. If not, the narrative hopefully will try to answer some questions as well. So that is all that I have for that one.
Thank you, Bryce. Public hearing is now open. Any comments in public hearing? Any comments in public hearing? Any comments in public hearing? The public hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments from the Plan Commission? Seeing no comments, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Now, once again, yep. Bernardi second and Mike first, yes. Now, once again, any other comments or questions from the commission? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote after Steve gets done. Yep.
Okay. Commissioner Frederick?
Yes.
Commissioner Bernardi?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Reilly?
Yes.
Mayor Teestrake?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And since we're moving and not doing 8 and 9, number 10 is staff updates.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two really quick ones. First of all, the council recently has approved moving forward with a contract with SEH. That is the firm that Bryce Hembrook, our planner on the line tonight, works for. And that will be from July 1 through June 30th of next year. And Bryce, we're very grateful to have had you, what's now been, I think, about 2.5 years in this role. So glad to continue working with you. The other thing I would say, at the same time, we do have an ad out there for senior planner. We've been looking for, again, 2.5+ years for that position to be filled. And then the other thing I want to note is, and Mr. Frederick knows this, the Historic Preservation Commission has been looking at trying to get more properties on the local historic register. And we had 2 people come to the last meeting who are very interested. They have homes that would be eligible for that. And so this commission will ultimately see in the next 2 or 3 months, I would think, you're part of the process to review those applications to put the properties on the local historic register. But they're nice poems, I guess, and people are very interested in that recognition. So that's all I have for tonight.
Well, thank you, Steve. Any items for future agendas? Seeing none, who would like to adjourn the meeting? Mike and Kim. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.